Hey, Garage Logic fans, I do a podcast on the Garage Logic Network that comes out every Wednesday and Friday now, twice a week. But here's an important caveat. There is zero logic available in my show, in the formal definition of logic. Of course, life is a yin and yang kind of thing. There's the logic side, and then there's the what the hell side, which needs to get its exercise. So come for the what the hell and stay for the you've got to be kidding me. MISCHKE, now Wednesdays and Fridays, twice a week. The following was completed before the tragic events of the Minneapolis school shooting were known. It's light-hearted fare. If on this heartbreaking day that's not something you're up for, it would be understandable to stop the show now. Perhaps listen on some other day. Have you been walking down the street at all recently and had the song "We Built This City on Rock and Roll" playing in your head? Lucky you, because I've had it. And I think I must have been walking through some store where it was playing, or it might be that it's the 40th anniversary of that song, Jefferson Starship, or was it just Starship? One of those incarnations. 40 years ago this summer, 40 years ago this month, we built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. That song came out and I think killed some people. I think some sensitive people, some people out there whose ears are very sensitive, died that August in 1985. They heard it and they just fell over. And people thought, well, they're kind of weak. No, they were sensitive. And the song was brutal. The song was brutal, and they were sensitive, okay? Others took longer to die. Some died 5 years later after hearing it many, many times. They eventually died, and doctors said it was some natural causes. It wasn't natural causes. It was that song, "We Built This City on Rock and Roll." It took out hundreds over the years. Hundreds of people died. Sensitive people, yes, people musically astute and sensitive. But I had that song in my head, and it has to be that it's the 40th anniversary. It's considered, this isn't just me talking, it is considered one of the worst songs ever. I think if you look up worst songs of the last half century, that's near the top. We Built This City on Rock and Roll. It was, first they were Jefferson Airplane, then they were Jefferson Starship, then they were just Starship. And somewhere in that later life, they put out that song, and humanity took a beating like they hadn't since... well, probably since the bubonic plague. Back in 2004, the editorial staff of the music magazine Blender named "We Built This City" the worst song ever recorded. That topped a list that included "Achy Breaky Heart," "Everybody Have Fun Tonight" by Wang Chung, "Ice Ice Baby" by Vanilla Ice. How did Grace Slick sleep at night? She had been part of Jefferson Airplane. White Rabbit, one pill makes you larger, one pill makes you small, and the one that Mama gives you doesn't do much of anything at all. Don't you want somebody to love? How could that same woman be involved with "We Built This City on Rock and Roll"? I know she made one hell of a lot of money off it. It was a big hit. You know, if it put food on the table, I should lighten up. And if that many people liked it, who am I to say it's a bad song? Yeah, who are you to say it's a bad song? Get out! Get out! No, a lot of people agree it's a terrible song. You can look it up. Rolling Stone, I think, had it as for sure the worst song ever produced in the 1980s. I know that. The worst song of the entire 1980s, and the 80s were a brutal period in music. Not to a lot of people, but to me. You know, I sometimes think about the fact that Jefferson Airplane felt the need to become Jefferson Starship, and I think, did you really believe Jefferson Airplane would become too antiquated? With us putting a man on the moon and developing this big space program, was it passé to have airplane in your name? You felt you had to grow with the times and become Jefferson Starship? I just think that's absurd. I mean, did the band, the Cars, all of a sudden feel one day, we should be the Planes? Jefferson Airplane isn't using airplane anymore. We could take their airplane. Well, if they felt the need to leave airplane for Starship, maybe we should jump from Cars to Starships. No, just stay with your name. Cat Stevens, when he wrote Peace Train, left it alone. The years went by, all sorts of changes. He didn't feel it should be Peace Starship. I think the second they became Jefferson Starship, we should have known the songs were going to become just ridiculously horrible. The crazy thing about the song We Built This City is that you have to blame a guy who you probably don't even know should get the blame. You have to partially blame Bernie Taupin. Yes, Elton John's lyricist. He penned the words for that song. Speaking of getting rich off that song, Bernie Taupin got rich off that song. If he wasn't, he was already rich, obviously, but he got even more rich. Bernie Taupin, do you ever brag about that at bars when you're trying to meet women? Yeah, I wrote the lyrics to We Built This City on Rock and Roll. What? Where you going? Where you going? What's the matter? Bernie probably scribbled that out in 3 minutes. I was struck recently by how quickly he and Elton John worked. Your Song, their hit, Your Song, Bernie Taupin scribbled that out on a napkin on a kitchen table in a few minutes, gave it to Elton John. Elton John spent, according to Elton, 20 minutes on the music. 20 minutes. This is for Your Song. It's a little bit funny. 20 minutes. Is that art when it only takes 20 minutes? It might be art, but is it art? Michelangelo never said, that was nothing, took me 20 minutes. We built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. Nothing screams how pathetic this song is more than when We Built This City was repurposed as a toilet paper ad. And instead of We Built This City on rock and roll, it became We Quilt This City with a Comfy Roll. I'm not joking. Quilted Northern Toilet Paper said, can we buy that song? Sure. It's a lousy song anyway. It's considered one of the worst songs ever. Yeah, sure. We'll sell it to you. What are you going to do with it? You're a toilet paper company. I have a feeling you think of this song as absolute crap. So you're going to do what with the song? You're going to change it to We Quilt This City with a Comfy Roll? Well, that'll finish the song off completely. That will put the last shovel full of dirt on its grave. We quilt this city with a comfy roll.
We quilt this city. We quilt this city with a comfy roll. Say it doesn't matter. Say it's all the same. But we are here to change your toilet paper game. Quilted Northern's comfy, and comfort is your right. Making this world a cushier place, that is our fight. So cushy and so plushy, just give it a try. Feeling is believing. The quilted comfort of Quilted Northern. We quilt this city. We quilt this city with a comfy roll.
Keep it quilted with Quilted Northern.
Retirement is in the offing, but you're not thinking about numbers right now. You're thinking about life. You're thinking about the house you've dreamed of, the freedom to quit the job that drains you. Josh Arnold has been helping people like you with their money for 40-plus years. He hasn't been following trends, folks. He hasn't been selling hype. He's been building futures. IRAs, 401ks, retirement plans, they're not just papers on a desk. They're the roadmaps to the life you want. Investments, what to do with your money. Josh Arnold is the man you should be talking to, and he's offering 48 minutes of his time for free. He understands that your money is not an account. It's your story, it's your choices, it's your ticket to peace of mind. So call Josh Arnold, 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security and investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. Tommy MISCHKE is a paid endorser.
Imagine a memory care center where the smell of fresh popcorn drifts through a little town square, where the ice cream parlor is crowded with people and laughter, where people's hair is getting styled and stories are being swapped, and every corner of the place hums with life. Yes, this is the Wellshire Residential Memory Care Center. It's not a hospital, people. It's not a waiting room. It's a world. 4 households for the 4 different stages of memory care, each one built for the rhythm of the people staying there. Here, memory isn't a limitation. Here, life is an exploration. Here, the staff, they don't just work. They live. They have a spirit. They give spirit to the place. They know the residents' favorite songs. They know the way they like their tea, the joke that can get 'em laughing. Wellshire Memory Care, where life is happening.
Quilted Northern's comfy, and comfort is your right. Making this world a cushier place, that is our fight. So cushy and so plushy, just give it a try.
Are any of you bothered as much as I am by the way toilet paper is marketed? I've been bothered by the way toilet paper is marketed my entire life. Here in this ad, it was called comfy. Comfy. The toilet paper was comfy. Is that how you think about it? You people listening, do you think of toilet paper that way ever? Do you ever think, oh, that's comfy? Because if you think that, that's sick. I think of blankets as comfy. Maybe a bathrobe can be kind of comfy. Terry cloth bathrobe. But toilet paper? People sitting around talking about how comfy it is? Ah, God! Toilet paper is talked about in advertising the way no one in any house in America has ever talked about toilet paper. I have been alive a long time, people. And I have been in many, 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 many homes. Many, many homes. I've been with many people in many households. I've been all over. People don't talk about their comfy toilet paper. Ever. I never say, hey, could I use your bathroom? And have the homeowners say, yeah, but use the one upstairs. That's the bathroom with the real comfy toilet paper. Oh, not the first floor? No, we ran out of the real comfy stuff down there. We just have the regular toilet paper there on the main floor. Oh, and what is that? What's the regular toilet paper? Well, the typical stuff, you buy at any grocery store. Oh, well, that's just fine for me. No, that'll be great. No, don't sell yourself short. Use the comfy stuff. Go upstairs. We paid a little more for it. Use it. You're our guest. Go upstairs. That's the real comfy stuff. God, I'm getting kind of uncomfortable. I never really think about toilet paper the way you're talking. I'm not searching for an ideal comfort with toilet paper. That's not my thing. I don't really think of toilet paper as comfy at all. Oh, we do. In this family, we do. We want it to make us feel, comfy. Warm, cozy, comfy kind of thing. Wow, really? 'Cause is that really its job? I think of that more as something, a nice A nice blanket would do, or a comfortable chair. Toilet paper. We're talking about toilet paper here. I know we're talking about toilet paper. We have some older farm women in an Amish community not too far from here, and they take apart warm, soft, old quilts, and they make toilet paper out of them for us. We have them stitch on little images of teddy bears with yarn. Really cute. And anyway, this cuddly, soft, comfy toilet paper is brought to our house, and we have that again in the upstairs bathroom. Use that one. So comfy. Really comfy. Wow, you guys are really into how it feels. Of course we are. You know what's going to happen to that toilet paper, don't you? I'm telling you, if you go up into the upstairs biffy, you'll come back to our house the next time you have to go number 2. You'll come back to our house. You'll knock at our door. We'll say, there he is. He's going to be coming here every time now. And you will. You'll come here every time to sit on the toilet and go potty. Yeah, we understand. We'll leave the door open. We get it. Come on, let my wife Jenny take you upstairs and show you the comfy toilet paper. You don't want to be too gentle. You don't want to be too aggressive. She'll show you. Jenny, take him up there and show him how to use that. No, God, no. It's okay. Jenny's done it for others. Jenny, take him up and show him. No, I'm going to your main floor bathroom. That's okay. I like that toilet paper there. That's from a regular store. I'll just use that. Okay, but it's your loss. Why did I bring up that topic? Oh, we built this city on rock and roll. We quilt this biffy... What was it? We quilt this city with a comfy roll. That's right. Grace Slick was sent a huge crate of cash when that song was sold to the northern toilet paper people. Grace Slick. By the way, what a name. Grace Slick. You people may think that's a made-up name. It's too perfect. It's too Hollywood. It's too ideal for a rock and roll chick. Grace Slick. Well, you're right about one thing. It wasn't her original name. Her original name was Grace Wing. Grace Wing. But she got Slick the way so many people get their last names. She got married to a guy named Jerry Slick. Her first husband was Jerry Slick, and she went from Grace Wing to Grace Slick. So Grace Slick of Jefferson Airplane, then Jefferson Starship, and then just Starship, was Grace Slick legitimately. Jerry Slick, now that name's worrisome. That can't be a real guy. That's got to be the name of a used car dealer in a cartoon somewhere. Jerry Slick? Hi, gang, I'm Jerry Slick. We have some hot deals for you on the lot today. This little beauty here is going for only $9,000. See the red tag? That's how you know we're slashing prices. Those red tags are everywhere. Look. Although I should mention, when the truth is found to be lies and all the joy in you dies, don't you want somebody to love? Come on down to Jerry Slick's used car lot. Here's the craziest thing about the Slick family and Grace Wing. So Grace Wing marries Jerry Slick, finds herself in the Slick family. Well, Jerry's brother Darby, he's forming a band. This is in the 60s. He's forming a band called The Great Society. Terrible name for a band. He just went and stole that from LBJ, LBJ's Great Society. And he's written a song, and he wants Grace to sing it. Grace, his sister-in-law. Darby Slick has written a song. You know what song he's written? The only song he ever wrote. Don't you want somebody to love? Grace Slick didn't write that. She wrote One Pill Makes You Larger, One Pill Makes You Small. She wrote that, by the way, in 30 minutes, she says. But no, she didn't write Don't You Want Somebody to Love. Her brother-in-law did. Darby Slick, the brother of the used car salesman. Jerry Slick. Jerry Slick wasn't anywhere around when that song was written. He was selling cars. He was saying, it's our red tag sale. Everywhere this weekend there will be red tags. This 2015 Ford Fusion, for instance, has only 124,000 miles, and it's got the red tag. That means we're selling it for a song, and the body is absolutely cherry. Cherry for Jerry. Jerry Slick. That's me. Though I should mention, when the truth is found to be lies and all the joy in you dies, don't you want somebody to love? My brother wrote that, Darby, and he gave it to my wife. I know you don't believe me. Nobody does. But the fact is, when the truth is found to be lies, and all the joy in you dies, become a used car salesman. Become a weird used car salesman. Don't you want a used car salesman? I'm a freaking used car salesman. I'm Jerry Slick, and I'm on LSD right now. I got some from my wife's underwear drawer. She thought I'd never go in her underwear drawer. But I'm weird Jerry Slick. Of course I'm going to go in there. Didn't expect to find the acid, however. And now I'm seeing imaginary cars that don't really exist, 'cause this isn't even a used car lot. This is an aquarium at the San Diego Zoo, and it's after hours. What am I even doing here? And how am I seeing Ford Fusions floating in the water with red tags? You know, I mentioned that Grace Slick wrote White Rabbit in 30 minutes. Call Alice when she's 10 feet tall. A hookah-smoking caterpillar. She must have read Alice in Wonderland and just felt inspired, and boom, the song shot out of her. I've been thinking about songs that were written lightning quick. The Beastie Boys said when they wrote You've Got to Fight for Your Right to Party, they said that was written in 5 minutes. It was just written real quick to poke fun at frat boys and their party lifestyle, but the song was embraced by frat boys, and the band became stars. It started with the Beastie Boys goofing around, again writing on a napkin, just like Bernie Taupin did. Lady Gaga wrote her breakout single Just Dance in 10 minutes, she said. 10 minutes. Single Ladies, the song Beyonce made a hit, 17 minutes. Music producer The Dream wrote Single Ladies for Beyonce, 17 minutes. Rihanna, Umbrella, 15 minutes. You know what the shortest amount of time was for a hit song? And I'm just talking hit songs now. I think Ray Charles gets the trophy. Back in 58, Ray Charles and his band were booked to play a gig from 9 p.m. in the evening to 1 a.m. at a Pittsburgh dance hall. It's about 1:45, and Ray Charles realizes that he has exhausted his repertoire. There are no other songs that he knows. He's worried he's going to lose his paycheck. It's 1:45. He's supposed to play till 1. So he told the band to just follow his lead and he'd make up a song on the spot. And he did. For the next 15 minutes, he improvised with the audience. And what came out of that? What I Say. The big hit, What I Say. That wasn't 20 minutes, 17 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. That was immediate. He wrote that as he played. And it was a smash hit. This stuff is all very disturbing to me because I do want to think of music as art. And again, other art forms, you just don't think of them being 5, 10, 15-minute deals. Again, I'll go back to the Sistine Chapel, the ceiling. Do any of the greats in painting and sculpture have their little 5, 10-minute version? And is it considered one of their greatest accomplishments? Considered one of their most popular pieces? That's why music can sometimes be disturbing. This is where you want to encounter a guy like Leonard Cohen, the late Leonard Cohen. So you know about his massive hit, Hallelujah. And you know that everybody and their mother and brother has covered that song. And you know that Leonard Cohen actually called for a moratorium on that song. Too many people were playing it too much of the time because people loved Hallelujah. They saw it as a masterpiece. But at least with that masterpiece, you could have the author of the song saying, "It took me years. It took me years. It was an agonizing, lengthy process, year after year after year working on that. I wrote over 80 verses, constantly revising and rewriting, discarding lyrics and starting over. It was a period of intense creative struggle. It was more frustrating than anything I ever worked on. There were times when this is Leonard Cohen speaking, when I actually beat my head on the floor during the writing process. That's what I want to hear. Now I'll listen to that song. I wanted to hear there was some sweat and blood behind that thing. We quilt this city with a comfy roll. Dear Lord. You have a furnace or you have a boiler. Boilers are often paired with radiators or baseboard heaters or radiant floor systems. Instead of blowing warm air like furnaces, boilers rely on radiant heat or convection to warm the house. Lots of heating companies out there work on furnaces. Very few work on boilers too. MSP does both. MSP, Minneapolis-St. Paul Plumbing, Heating, and Air, know boilers like the back of their hands. They have mastered them year in and year out for over 100 years. You heard me, 100 years. They've been around since 1918. If you need a boiler serviced or installed in your house, going anywhere else is one seriously colossal blunder. You have just bypassed the best, my friends. Why would a smart person do that? Makes no sense. 10-year warranty on parts and labor, transferable to a new homeowner should you sell your house. No one else in the industry offers that. Category after category, they stand alone. MSP. Contact them for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. The Spectacle Shop is at the Minnesota State Fair for a few more days. First floor of the grandstand, not the second floor. They moved to the first floor, and they're doing something you're not going to see anywhere else in the country right now. A $59 frame sale on frames that are normally $250 to $800. Just $59 if you buy a pair of prescription lenses. You can bring your prescription to the fair. Spectacle Shop has been voted best eyewear store in the state of Minnesota the last 5 consecutive years by readers of the Star Tribune. And there's a reason. They have eyewear you won't find anywhere else, and they have a staff so knowledgeable, so skilled, that you'll actually realize the other places you've been going have been pretty much populated by idiots. I'm sorry. Stylish frames, designer frames, frames you won't see anywhere else, $59. But only at the Minnesota State Fair. First floor of the grandstand. Take them up on this offer now and rob them blind. Spectacle Shop.
You've heard me talk about fillers before, how fillers such as and inserted into sentences are really ruining the sentence and ruining your presentation of showcasing that you're actually an intelligent person. So what's the latest filler that is killing conversation the most? Like. I want you to eliminate like. Get used to describing things without using the word like.
Like, oh my god, hi.
Oh, like, hi.
Like, how are you?
Like, I'm so good. Like, how are you?
Like, I'm good.
My guest is Megan C. Reynolds. She is an editor at Dwell magazine, and she has written for many publications, BuzzFeed, The New York Times, Elle, Gawker, Bustle, Vulture. The book she has written that I'm holding in my hand is called simply Like, Like, a history of the world's most hated and misunderstood word. Megan C. Reynolds, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for having me.
I have wanted to talk to someone about this for a long, long time. When I saw your book, I didn't even read about it. I didn't look for a review. I didn't want to find out what anyone else thought about it. So I got the book, not having any idea if you were going to defend the word or beat up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started reading it, and I was surprised to see you defend it.
Okay.
It was fascinating. It was intriguing to me. But the curveball I didn't see coming was the defense of the word, because I'm someone who does not like the word.
I think that it's a word that is so deeply embedded in colloquial speech and in the culture in general that it doesn't seem to be doing any active harm.
You did convince me that it wasn't doing harm. It's really not doing a great deal of harm. So that was one thing you did convince me of. And for folks who are unsure what the hell we're talking about, this is the use of the word like peppering so many sentences of so many people. The appearance of like in our conversations in a way that didn't exist to the same degree years ago, and how that bothers some people, particularly
older people of my parents' generation, and often men.
I never thought of like as a women's thing.
The research does show that men and women use it pretty equally, but it is largely associated with young women's speech.
Obviously, I know about the whole Valley Girl thing, but the Valley Girl thing, even if one were to blame it on Valley Girls in the San Fernando Valley in California, it certainly has moved into everybody.
The Valley Girls, I think, were so important to the way that this has spread. And the San Fernando Valley is also important to the way that this word spread, because that is where popular culture was made. That is where movies were made. And those are the movies that people across the country and around the world were seeing. And people were speaking in a particular way. And that stuff spreads so fast.
Yeah. I paid my kids not to say like when they were growing up. I paid them money.
Oh.
So every day, if they could go a day without using like in any other way other than I like this, I paid them. They made a lot of money. And it was solely because it hurt my ears. Now, I'm willing, based on reading your book, to now believe that was a generational thing, that was something that was going to hurt my ears in a way it was not going to hurt the ears of someone 25 years younger. We also have to accept that there are probably a lot of people who were hiring people for work, for jobs, who were more my age or older, who also weren't liking that. Thus, you ended up with these instructive videos and these books and these people who give these talks saying, here's a way to remove this from your conversation, and other filler words like
Right.
So you say in the book, as guys like me die, this will not be a problem anymore.
Much less of a problem.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Where I think it was fair still to argue against the use of like as a filler word is how many times it's used. There is a limit. It's natural, just humanly natural, to get a little bit bothered or annoyed if that's all I'm hearing instead of their argument. Your big thing is communication, and if it's affecting the communication.
Obviously, yes. If it's excessive to the point where it sounds disruptive to the ear, then yes.
I heard you in an interview where they played an NPR editor talking about how with National Public Radio now, they will leave likes in a conversation that they used to edit out because they find it more natural. But in that same clip, I heard that NPR editor say, unless there's a bunch of them.
Yes. And I think to this point, you keep it in to sort of maintain the humanity, to make the person sound like a person who's speaking. But obviously, yes, if it's excessive to the point where it sounds disruptive, then yes, you take, but it's not, I don't think anyone is approaching it with a sort of a blanket kind of take them all out.
And that's fascinating to me that that's changing. And I think you do an experiment in the book. I'm trying to remember from your book, did you do an experiment with ChatGPT?
I did.
There was an idea, was there not, that because ChatGPT was not throwing in likes, there was a sense to you that it wasn't sounding as human?
I think what I was trying to get at with that experiment, which was, yes, trying to trick ChatGPT into being able to spit something back to me that sounded natural or human. And it was difficult to do so unless I gave it a very specific prompt. And I believe the prompt was write this thing as if a Valley Girl or like a teenage girl or something like that. And that produced sort of the closest most realistic kind of discourse, I guess.
You talk about in the book that you're someone who uses like all over the place. You enjoy using it. You see its value. You don't have a problem when other people are talking and peppering their sentences with likes all over the place. How often, if at all, did anybody say to you, well, you're just a fan of using it, so you want to write a book defending it? It would be better if you didn't use it and wrote a book defending it. Then I believe you more, but you're just trying to justify your own use.
Literally nobody. 0 people.
All right. Well,
zero times
and
have I heard that.
I'm not being that person. I'm not.
Thank you. Okay.
But I did think about that. And then the other thing, say you're talking to someone about a touchy subject. For you, peppering in a bunch of likes softens the conversation and makes it easier for the other person to hear you because maybe you don't sound as harsh. Like for you, likes, plural, offer all sorts of buffers.
Yeah.
And what it does for me is take away a bunch of directness. Directness to you is harsh, and to me is so refreshing. I want directness. Now, that may be male-female.
I do think there is a bit of that in there, yes.
So that's what I would find sometimes in your examples is how much you thought the likes helped. And I was saying, there's our difference. She wants that softened. And indirectness to me smacks of dishonesty, whether it is or not. Directness has a realness and an honesty that I miss in society in general.
Right.
But we haven't even gotten to your main argument, which is, I think, actually your most powerful argument. And that is that the Valley Girls didn't even start this thing. They're not even the ones responsible for it.
Right.
And you go back an unbelievable number of years and find examples. I mean, how far back are we going? I mean, it's some ridiculous amount. I can't remember the years.
It was the 1600s.
1600s! The 1600s!
Court records from the 1600s in the UK show that people were using like very much in this quote unquote bad ways that people are using it now. And those are really good primary sources because a court record is literally a scribe listening and writing down how someone is naturally speaking. You know, it does sort of poke a hole in the argument that this is the beatniks' fault or that this is the Valley Girls' fault.
You bring up the beatniks. So I was well aware that the Beats were using like...
Yesterday when he got a -2 on
-2?
Yeah, on his history exam, we decided it was time for action.
Yeah, I answered 2 questions wrong. The teacher didn't even ask.
Maynard would really amount to something if we could ever get him moving in the right direction. But he keeps going around in circles.
Yeah, I'm like dizzy.
Yeah.
Maynard, your problem is not unique. Many young men these days find themselves in your shoes.
What Mr. Millfloss means is, does anybody depend on you?
I got like 4 goldfish.
Do any people depend on you?
Yeah.
Like nobody.
I knew they were using it that way, so I knew it was kind of this cool, hip thing to do at one point, and it allowed these guys to have kind of a clubby way of talking to one another, and the squares didn't talk that way. So that was long before the Valley Girls. What I'm curious about is there is no way in hell Valley Girls got it from the Beats. I can't imagine they got it from them, so where did they get it?
To your point about how the Beats were sort of distinguishing themselves from the squares, their parents, whoever else, by speaking in a specific kind of way, that is probably how it traveled to the Valley Girls because it's slang. You know, you grow up and you want to sort of distance yourself from the way your parents speak and act because that is not cool and you are a teenager and you want to do other stuff that is cool. So I think sort of got a stronghold in sort of youth culture, just period across the board. And then it eventually made its way to the Valley Girls. And I believe Frank Zappa said that he was just like for the song Valley Girls, he was literally just observing the way that his daughter and her friends spoke. You can't trace a direct line from Beats to Valley Girls, but I think it's more of like youth culture in general. And then what was the youth culture in the Valley Girls in the 80s.
Would you have made, do you think, a similar argument? Say we go back to the 1960s and you have a generational thing going where parents don't like how much their kids are cussing. And to the kids, it's just all part of the way we speak. And if they were to sit down with me today, those parents, if they sat down and said, well, you know, Tom, I just think it's easier on the ear and it still sounds better to not throw in all those words. I can't argue with that, even though I became the guy that caused them their problems.
Yeah, I do think how will I put this? I do think there is something to be said to your larger point about directness and being assertive and sort of being clear and confident in your speech. And I do think, yes, sometimes like can detract from that, but I don't think that it is necessarily a negative. There's a time and a place. There's a time and a place.
Fury Motors is a car dealership that's been run by the Leonards since JFK was committing to a moon landing. That's right, multiple generations. This legendary car dealership, Fury Motors, is not a place that plays games with people who come in looking for a car. They know cars like Neil Armstrong knew moon boots. They know people just as well. And they know how to sell a car without treating people like cattle, which is more than I can say for most dealerships I've dealt with. They've got Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep in Stillwater and South St. Paul, and they have Fury Ford in Waconia. But they also have like-new used cars in every make and model. The crew at Fury Motors, these guys actually seem genuine. They seem alive. They seem interested in you as a person. They don't do that good old fake caring thing. You know the fake caring thing? They're into real caring. If they were any more human, you'd be making them your therapist. What? Fury Motors, South St. Paul, Stillwater, and Waconia. Ever wonder what a bank would feel like if it was filled with, human beings? If it was created by human beings for other human beings? Not just lines in front of a teller, but a place that singles you out and says, hey, friend, that's North American Banking Company, 6 locations across the Twin Cities, doing banking differently. Imagine walking into a bank and feeling like someone actually gets you. They're like you. Your money, your goals, your time, they understand all that. There's no blah, blah, blah bank jargon, no corporate staff training nonsense, just smart, compassionate human banking. And here's the kicker. North American Banking Company isn't following the old rules. They're rewriting them because when it comes to your money, different has got to mean better. And here it does. So if you're ready to experience banking that actually works for you, stop by North American Banking Company. And maybe, just maybe, banking will feel like it used to when it was handled by humans.
North American Banking Company. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There was something else when I was reading your book that allowed me to see where I hear differently than you. And often I think that's what's coming up in this book is I'm realizing I'm hearing differently. Your understanding of eloquence. So you write in your book about eloquence. You have a different sense of what's eloquent than I do in speech. You write, my understanding of eloquence has little to do with filler words or really the words that are spoken at all. But with the overall impression you leave when you're done speaking. That's a little tricky because for me, the overall impression one leaves when they're done speaking is going to be, did I spend a lot of time hearing a lot of words that got in the way of what they actually wanted to say?
Right.
But for you, it's not going to be necessarily getting in the way.
No, and that's because I think what really matters to me is context, knowing your audience, knowing who you're speaking to, knowing that you need to speak a certain way to a certain audience in order for your message to get across, for your message to be legible. And politicians do it. Politicians do it when they're campaigning. They sort of not dumb themselves down, but, will get a little more
folksy
to try to win them over. It's the same kind of thing.
I want to throw out just this one other example because I'll forget it if I don't. This is from 1865, a 90-year-old woman living on the west coast of Canada listen to this sentence. I just know how to act. This has also been identified in New Zealand, other parts of the English-speaking world. It's clearly attractive to reach for that. There's something about it that really makes people feel this'll help me a little bit here. How is it helping? I know at one point in the book you talked about its necessity because if you removed all the likes, there would be these pauses as you came up with your next sentence where like wouldn't exist. And the sense would be that you stopped talking and someone else would just jump in there. Pausing to say like, and then continuing on allows the person to understand you're going to continue talking. But that's yet another thing I'm bothered by. Yet another thing I'm bothered by is people's failure to allow space. The idea that we have to jump in within 0.006 seconds. What that smacks of, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, probably more so, what that smacks of to me is poor listening. You're ready with your next thing before you've really listened to what's been said. So while I understand why you think it's good there, to me it just identifies a new problem.
I do see your point. I do think that people silence, I do think maybe we do struggle a little bit more nowadays with silence. I was saying in some other press that I was doing that, when if I'm listening to a podcast or something and there is a natural pause, the person who's talking is literally pausing to get their thoughts together and say something else. I assume that something is wrong with my telephone or that something has happened to the thing that I'm listening to.
Have you been interviewed by anybody who has admitted, as I have, to really disliking the ubiquitous use of this word?
Yes, I did an appearance, when was it? Sometime in July on WGN Chicago's, one of their morning shows. And the first question that the male anchor asked me when I logged on was, how can you be defending this word when this is something I'm telling my teenage daughters not to say because they're going to go out into the world and sound dumb? The argument there was around professionalism, around what will the larger world think of his daughters as they're trying to get jobs and, climb the ladder, do whatever. This will damage their credibility. This will damage their ability to get a job. This will do many terrible things that will compound over the course of their lives. And I can think of many examples of people in my life who are very successful, who have said who do say in the workplace and wherever else, and it has not been detrimental to their career.
Yeah, I don't doubt at this stage of the game it's becoming less and less detrimental. At one point it might have been. I can understand the father's concern only from the standpoint of, in his world, this is how it's viewed, and he's worried that there will be guys like him out there. I also know that one of your big defenses in this book is let's quit beating up on young women. And that comes screaming through in this book.
Oh, good.
That was the part that threw me because I was someone who did not see this as a women-men thing. I will say that there was an interview I did with a young woman one time, 16-year-old, and it surely could have been a 16-year-old guy. It's the one time I remember I probably took a day of editing, pulling out not all of them, but a lot of them because I thought, this poor girl, no one's going to hear the wonderful things she's saying. They're just going to talk about the way she talks. I'm recording this in audio, and I'm going to go home and put it on a podcast. What do I do here? So that was the decision I made. One thing that was intriguing to me, I think you wrote about this, or it might have been in an interview I heard you do. People were surprised to learn they used the word as often as they did. They didn't hear themselves using it. And later on, they would be told, 47 times in that 11-minute stretch. No way, maybe once or twice. Again, this might be just me, but I'm also a fan of us all being more conscious.
That's fair. I think there is something to be said for being more conscious of the way we speak in general. And I guess it truly depends on the person as to what you want to be conscious about.
Yeah. So here's a tricky one for you. What if someone is going into an interview where it's some old timer like me, It is someone who, if they hear 90 of those in the first 5 minutes, they're going to say, oh boy, I'm not even going to be able to work around a person like this. Would you coach that person to speak differently in that interview?
I think what I would say is, look, this is what you're facing, okay? You're facing someone who is, this is the kind of person that will probably be upset for this. Try not to let that get in your head. You need to, locate that confidence somewhere within yourself. And that will naturally smooth out some of the sort of rougher edges from the way you're speaking. And I think one of the reasons that I have not been saying like as much as I normally do in my real life, my professional life, wherever else, in press and stuff, is because I'm confident about the book that I wrote. That confidence has sort of made it that I can just say things directly and clearly.
So this is interesting, and I think this is very true. So a lot of likes thrown in sentences comes often with an anxiety and a nervousness.
Yes, it can. And I think, the argument that I've heard against that, which I do agree with in some cases, is like, you want to be assertive, you want to be confident, you want to be clear. And it's also a negative thing to not necessarily know what you're going to say next.
I can be around guys and hear cuss words all over the place, just being used left and right.
Willy-nilly, right.
And none of those guys would have problems if they had to turn around, walk into an office and do an interview right then and there, removing those words.
Without those words.
They would be able to pull all those words and then bring them all back, flooding back afterward. Right. What I find is people can't do that with like. You actually, in that interview, good luck pulling all those out. They'll find their way in there. They'll get in there. Even it's the funniest damn thing. They want in.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because I think we're making subconscious. It's subconscious. I don't think anyone is actually. You're not deploying them necessarily strategically,
right?
But that to me shows that speaks to just truly how pervasive it actually is.
Well, I hope people get a hold of this book. It's a fun read, and it is enlightening, like A History of the World's Most Hated and Misunderstood Word. Megan C. Reynolds, the author. Really delighted you took this time with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really nice. I appreciate it. This was fun.
And that's gonna do it for this show. But there are more shows I'll be doing in the future. Some coming up shortly. So thanks for listening. It's just great having you guys around to, just check out the show and be a fan and stuff. So anyway, hope you like the show. See you later, folks.